Here's the truth most people miss. Your standards aren't just a reflection of your life. They're the engine that drives it. When you raise your standards, your reality shifts to meet them. It's not always immediate, but the shift starts the moment you stop treating your standards like vague suggestions and start treating them like non-negotiables. Think of it like ordering something online. You don't just browse and hope it shows up. You click place order. The universe works in the same way. When you get serious about your vision, when you stop playing small, stop negotiating with your potential, and start acting in alignment with your highest standards, you send a clear signal and things start to move. Resources show up, opportunities appear, people offer support. Not because they suddenly exist, but because you finally made room for them by getting intentional. But here's the kicker. Most people never place the order. They get stuck window shopping dreams. They set goals and immediately dilute them with disclaimers. Well, I'll try my best. Or, if it doesn't work, I'll survive. That's not commitment. That's a backdoor. Standards are not about being perfect. They're about clarity. They tell life that you're available for it. They become the blueprint for your actions, your relationships, your work, and most importantly, your self-worth. And when you elevate those standards even slightly, you create a ripple effect. Your habits change, your boundaries strengthen, your focus sharpens, your life begins to reorganize around that new baseline. And here's where comfort zones come in. Because as soon as you raise your standards, they start screaming. Comfort zones aren't just cozy, they're cunning. They'll tell you you're safe. They'll convince you not to risk it. But what they don't tell you is that comfort is expensive. It's the donut of life. Sweet, tempting, and deadly if consumed daily. Most people stay in good enough situations because they mistaken familiarity for fulfillment. But let's call it what it is, stagnation. And stagnation doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. It looks like routine. It sounds like, I guess this is fine. It shows up as low-grade boredom that you've learned to tolerate. But the truth is, you're not here to repeat the same scene until the curtain falls. You're here to evolve, to grow, to expand into everything that you're capable of becoming.
Exactly, Paul. And growth doesn't happen inside the comfort zone. It happens just outside of it. That is the sweet spot. Psychologists call it the zone of proximal development. It's where things are hard enough to stretch you, but not so overwhelming that you shut down. It's not about blowing up to life. It's about strategic discomfort, raising your internal thermostat just enough to spark growth. Like exercise, too high and there's no change, too heavy and you get injured. The magic lives in that calibrated tension, right where challenge meets capacity. But let's talk about expansion on a deeper level, because this isn't just productivity advice, it's spiritual architecture. The universe is expanding constantly, and so are you, or at least you're meant to. Nature doesn't sit still, never does. Trees don't decide that they've grown enough and stop reaching for the light. Stars don't dim themselves because they've already burned bright enough. Everything in nature moves forward, unfurls, experiments, and you're part of that rhythm. Your soul didn't come here for sameness. It came here for revelation, for discovery, for becoming. The moment you start treating your life like an evolving masterpiece instead of a final product, everything shifts. You're no longer protecting your identity, you're creating it. You stop asking, am I enough? And start asking, what else can I become? And here's where success can become its own trap. Because once we've reached a milestone, we often say, great, now I can finally relax. But success in an account is a launch pad. The goal isn't to stop. The goal is to build that momentum into something even bigger, something more meaningful, more aligned with who you're becoming. The moment you start guarding your past accomplishments instead of growing into your future ones, you stagnate. You start to wither creatively, spiritually, energetically, not because you failed, but because you've stopped. And let's not forget the power of purpose. Purpose is not a luxury. It's like oxygen. The minute people retire from meaning, they start to decline. Not because they're old, but because they've lost their aim. The soul without a target gets bored, and a bored soul sends that signal to the body, which responds in kind. But purpose doesn't have an expiration date. It evolves. You don't have to climb mountains forever, but you do need to stay curious, stay in motion, keep creating, keep contributing. When you're in alignment with growth, life opens. You start to see new dimensions of yourself. You don't just do more, you become more. And that's the point of all of this.
That's right. Because your identity is fluid, not fixed. And every time you step outside your old standard, you meet a version of yourself that you'd never met before. That's why stagnation can be so dangerous. It doesn't always feel bad. In fact, it can feel fine, predictable, responsible even. But it slowly eats away at your potential while convincing you that nothing's wrong. You become a curator of old accomplishments instead of an architect of new ones. The antidote? Raise your standards. Again. Then again. Keep choosing a vision that slightly scares you, but excites your soul. Keep expanding into discomfort, because that's where your next self is waiting. Don't get trapped in the illusion that growth has a finish line. The moment you think I've made it is the moment you start shrinking.
Exactly. And here's the invitation. Don't settle for being a slightly upgraded version of who you were 5 years ago. Start becoming the version of you that your soul has been pitching all along. Raise your standards, not out of pressure, but out of possibility. Stop browsing your dreams and finally click place order. Not because it's easy, but because it's yours. You're not a houseplant. You are designed to sit still, soak up the same sun, and be content in one pot forever. You're a cosmic adventurer in a human body. You are designed to evolve, create, stretch, and overflow into new dimensions of your being. So keep moving, keep changing, keep raising your standards, because that's where the magic lives, right at the edge of who you are and who you're becoming.
If this resonated with you, don't just click away. Do something with it. Ask yourself right now, where have I been? Where have I been negotiating with my potential? Where do I need to raise my standards? Write it down. Decide, commit, and if you're ready to go deeper into this journey of conscious growth, creative power, and soul-level astonishing, hit that like button, share, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you never miss a new episode. We drop talks like this regularly, raw, real, and built to shift your perspective. Until next time, think differently, dream boldly, and create consciously.
I'm a quiet rebel, I don't need a shower.